Hey guys, very few of you are familiar with my channel at this point, but for those of you that are, let me just tell you that this is going to mark a new beginning for my channel. It's going to be focusing on gaming as a whole instead of the success or failure of a particular console. Now, I believe that too many people for the first 2 minutes of their video take too much time to talk about what they've been doing and where they're going with their channel. So without further ado, I'm just going to kick this off. Ever since the 8th generation went, it started innocently enough, and slowly, over time, it's escalated to the fiasco that it was with the Xbox One's launch. And moving forward, a lot of hatred towards the Xbox brand as a whole has built up until the launch of the console itself. Now, a lot of people would argue that this hatred succeeds to this very day, and I would agree with them, but for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to give that fact too much attention. The fact of the matter is that too many bad business practices have been allowed to run rampant this generation without receiving very much attention at all, and things like excessive hand-holding, microtransactions, two-dimensional shallow gameplay, and on-disc day one DLC has been allowed to stay in our games. And with every new sequel, with every new iteration of the game, the problem just seems to get worse and worse. Now, I believe that this problem stems from the fact that these gaming journalists, fans of certain platforms, and even YouTubers have decided to instead of focus on these topics, they've ran with platform competing and whose version of a game looks better. Now, when these consoles were announced, it was pretty clear from the beginning that the PS4 would have the advantage. The Xbox One has 1.3 teraflops, and the PS4 has 1.8. Of course, I'm rounding out, but you guys get the point. The point is that the PS4 has a clear advantage when it comes to performance. And yet, we still have these ridiculous comparison videos, which, by the way, I think the Xbox One does a phenomenal job in just closing that gap. And the differences, if there are any at all, are always minimal. And it really turns to my stomach to think that to this very day, we're still talking about resolution differences in console games. And when people can't stomach to talk about that stuff anymore, then they talk about sales. Look, guys, the sales should be completely irrelevant to the consumer. You guys aren't hurting anybody but yourselves with all this infighting that's going on. And Activision and Ubisoft have taken that and ran with it to release broken games this generation, to do false advertising. And we don't throw up much of a fit about anything anymore because we're just focused on who's better. And it really needs to stop because in particular cases, the anti-consumer practices have gotten so far as to where, like, for example, Destiny with the Taken King, that game released with a mediocre story at best, and then they released the Taken King, charged $40 for it, and then you have people praising it, saying that they have fixed Destiny now. It's gotten to the point where they charge you to fix their game, and people praise the game for that and glorify it. Now, historically, the bar has been set lower this generation than ever before, and I believe that this is a horrible practice on our part. People like Kotaku, Digital Foundry, N4G have basically expanded their reputations this generation by dousing the flames of the console wars. They've really just stoked the fires and piss people off, and that's how they've made their reputations this generation. This generation shouldn't be about pixel counting. We should be talking about games, guys. We should be recognizing when there are good games, and we should be recognizing when there are bad business practices. Enough is enough, guys. Are we going to let another gaming crash happen before we realize that we need to stop infighting and start playing some games? So, those are my thoughts, and I've been wanting to get this off my chest for a while. I want to know what you guys think. It's typical to say this, but I want to see your comments down below, and looking forward to starting a dialogue and a conversation with you guys. Peace.